Off we go again, chasing his man. Now he's got him. Staying attached to the leg. Oh wow. Los Grunne staying attached. Goodness. He's out. Oh my.
Many have always wondered what Brock Lesnar's children would look like in MMA. Well, here's the answer. Yes, this wild Viking, or as his fans call him, the Neanderthal, is an undefeated MMA fighter and a ruthless grappler. Like Brock, he possesses incredible strength, size, charisma, and technical than Brock Lesnar. One has seen Brock Lesnar's amateur wrestler daughter. But are the rumors true? Is he really Brock Lesnar's son? You will find out in the end of the video. This Viking was born in Dusseldorf, Germany, which, of course, is not surprising given his appearance. What is surprising, however, is the fact that he began training in BJJ at the age of 16, inspired by a UFC video game. The cover of that game featured none other than Brock Lesnar, who at the time was the UFC heavyweight champion. The Neanderthal absolutely loved the game. He constantly tried to replicate the moves from the game in real life. MMA moves, or more precisely, grappling techniques that got stuck in his mind. This eventually led him to start training in real life. He was studying theory, drilling different transitions, trips, basic techniques, everything that beginner athletes who choose wrestling start their journey with. After 7 years of persistent training, he ultimately got his black belt in London. It became possible thanks to many years of competing and complete fearlessness toward opposition. The teacher, sensei, and mentor of Frederick in BJJ is Dickie Martin, who teaches at Carlos Gracie London. However, his desire to improve pushed him not only to train abroad, but also to work with coaches from various countries and cultures. For example, his wrestling coach is Lyubomir Kombarov, an experienced wrestler from Bulgaria. The German also states that Kombarov is the strongest man he has ever sparred with, due to his immense experience and incredible mastery. The desire to pursue wrestling and grappling is not exactly a typical German pastime. However, our hero, despite all odds, managed to achieve quite a lot in this field. In 2018, our hero performed at the IBJJF British National Open, where he went up against Dominic Bell. The fight lasted around 9 minutes, during which Vosgroen's opponent looked better. Frederick made a couple of attempts to shoot the single or double leg, but Dominic was ready and had good defense, often taking the dominant position and scoring points. At the conclusion of the allotted time, he was the one to get his hand raised while our hero gained valuable experience, as always. And in this footage, in the same 2018, the German was up against Tim Breeze. The guys were scrambling all over the place, trying to execute a submission or catch each other making a mistake. We'll say straight away that none of the athletes managed to do so, but because Frederick looked more efficient and was closer to securing a finish, the victory was given to him. In 2020, the Viking took third place at the World Championship Nogai. Besides that, he was a frequent participant in the Polaris Grand Prix, where he was winning 10,000 euros from time to time. And of course, he took first place at the ADCC trials. Here you can see a championship that took place in June of 2020 called Battle Grapple 6. There, the Neanderthal competed against Ed Ingemels, with whom he wrestled on the ground for 10 minutes straight. For the bigger part, our hero was either on top or behind his back. However, it happened to be not enough for him to get the win. In the end, the referee raised both guys' hands, which meant a draw. In November, Neanderthal appeared at the IBJJFPANNOGI Championship once again, clashing with Khalil Fadlal. This time, the Viking demonstrated his abilities quite successfully and beat his opponent with one of his favorite submissions, an arm triangle choke. It took him around 6 minutes in total. In March of 2022, this beat had another raid into the Open Nogi event to snatch another trophy. Here, he managed to tap out Joshua Guerrera in less than a minute with a leg submission. He is very accomplished in the grappling world. But what about his MMA career? You probably already guessed that his MMA career is built on his background in other disciplines where he achieved notable results in the past. Thanks to his foundation in jiu-jitsu, grappling, and a specific style of wrestling adapted for fighting, he and his team developed an approach that helps him prepare for every opponent during training camps. Right now, he is focused solely on MMA because that's what he wants to pursue. To become a better fighter. It's the only path he and his coaches are following, and the skills he gained in all those ground-based disciplines remain his main weapon inside the cage. The debut happened on May 30th, 2021. It was the first numbered event of Levels Fight League, and Neanderthal's opponent was Erhan Okuroglu. A 25-year-old German debuted not in the light heavyweight, but middleweight division. By that moment, he wasn't in that terrifying Brock Lesnar-like form, but he still looked rather scary compared to his victim, so he went after Okuroglu without a second thought. The first round was completely dictated by Frederick as he took Erhan down, controlled him on the ground, and not just held him there, but constantly looked for a stoppage.
I guess the other one leg is not trapped.
Not that.
All kind of sport jiu-jitsu mentality.
Because
Some fights, some things go your way, and if you want to get the fight, then when you can't get it there, you're in big trouble. But
the German's wrestling and groundwork really reminds Brock Lesnar or Khabib. He is always trying to finish or damage opponent.
Manages to find a way out.
both hooks in.
Looking for the Mataleon, the rear naked choke.
Face, and this just sucks. This is the face crank. It's just pressure on your jawline and your nose and your teeth. And
in the second round, the situation did not change.
Not a great start there for Aaron. He kind of backed himself up and kind of drowns you, and that's what he's doing. He's not making any crazy, that's how when we get tired, we do stupid things. See if Bosgrove.
At a certain point, the fighters got to the ground again, and this time Neanderthal managed to find a finish over his opponent with an arm triangle choke.
But as you pointed out, the cage is there. Ready. Bosgrove, as advertised, showcased his grappling and jiu-jitsu abilities.
Blue corner, Frederick Bosgrove!
Despite his aboriginal appearance, the hero of this video is quite smart and critical of himself and his performances. Here is what he said after his first fight. He admitted that he could have done much better, but for a first MMA fight, it was acceptable. However, he wasn't truly satisfied with his performance. Still, he was eager to return to training and looked forward to getting another fight soon. However, the Neanderthal's words were not destined to come true. Over the next 3 years, he was unable to return to the MMA octagon, competing only once in grappling in 2022. Many have speculated about the reasons behind this. Some say he was dealing with an injury, while others believe it was difficult for him to find an opponent. But once you see his next MMA performance, you'll likely realize that the real reason lay in his training. The Viking was probably dead serious when he said he wasn't happy with his MMA debut. All those years, he was training relentlessly, not just to fight his opponents, but to destroy them. In October of 2024, he was fought on We Love MMA 74, and the Vikings' opponent was Christian Fischer. The 28-year-old light heavyweight finally showed his best form. He won in 16 seconds by submission.
Jetzt geht's los hier zwischen den beiden. Aber Fischer gleich mit den Fäusten aktiv. Beide haben natürlich schon Erfahrung. Und Voskrone gleich legt Wert drauf, will auf den Boden. Aber ist nun erstmal in der Position, dass gucken muss, wie kriegt er ihn.
Oh, das ist vorbei. Vorbei. Das vorbei.
Das war's.
Vorbei.
Das war's.
Oh, da wird sich mein Grappling-Trainer sich freuen. Was eine...
Winning quickly by KO is amazing, but winning quickly by submission is exceptional. A vicious heel hook from the German fighter extended his win streak to 2 in a row.
Wenn der anzieht, der hat das aber auch drauf. Und ich kann mich noch an die letzten Trainingseinheiten bei uns im Bodenkampf erinnern. Hier ist es sofort zu Ende.
Frederick Bosgrove und Chris Fischer. Ende dabei. Referee stopping. Tap out. Grund dafür war ein Heelhook und der Sieg geht an Fredericks Voskrone.
This victory motivated the Neanderthal to return to the cage just a month later at the We Love MMA 76, where he stopped Nicholas Jojovic with the same heel hook. After 16 seconds victory, this one felt longer. Nicholas Jojovic survived for a minute and a half. Such impressive victories caught the attention of many, and fans began asking when the hero of this video would make it to the UFC and what his ambitions were. However, the Neanderthal remained quite modest in his statements. He said that right now he is reigning in MMA, but he hasn't been doing it long enough to think about plans and prospects. However, one thing he knows for sure is that his extensive experience in wrestling, BJJ, and grappling is enough to make up for the lack of preparation in striking technique. For now, he wins all his fights because he feels he has an advantage. When it comes to the ground game, he knows far more scenarios and ways of achieving success than all his opponents combined. After these words, it seemed that a slightly calmer chapter of the Neanderthal's career was ahead, but that was not the case. It was his very next fight that made him a social media star. From his strange laughter
Haben wir umgestellt. Ja. Ich hab eine Gewichtsweste an.
to his animalistic drive to catch his opponent at any cost. The beatdown took place on April 5, 2025 at Octagon 69. This fight was possible thanks to the German prospect's opponent in the face of Jurek Montagnac. All that action was over in the second round via arm triangle choke. But that's not the most important thing here. This wild chase captured the internet's attention and reminded many of the brutal takedowns once performed by former UFC champion Brock Lesnar. This fight completely changed the trajectory of the Neanderthal's career. Even he realized it during the bout. Right in the middle of the fight, he could already hear how the crowd was reacting to him.
Oh, that left hand is money as well. Oh, wow. Voskrone staying attached. Look at the way he does not want to let that go. Wow.
He heard how the crowd was cheering when they got to the ground. They supported him and screamed his name. And when he won, the arena started screaming even louder.
Heel hook. Jurek Montagnac trying to escape the grip of this Neanderthal.
He was heartened by this reception and said that the fans' support always motivates him.
It's a little bit harder with this. He's going to the side of the cage. It's a tiny bit harder to finish, but
Montagnac trying to roll.
good scramble.
Oh, look at the shift of hips, just held onto the lat there on the far side. And again, it's the level, right?
That's got to be hard for him.
Oh, he's going to get the squeeze. Frederick Voskrone from Mount, trying to get this head and arm. He's got the tap. Was that a tap? He's going to set it again. He might go. He's out.
So who is this guy who looks like a Viking and whom the fans call the Neanderthal? What's his name? Throughout this video, you've been watching Frederick Voskrone, possibly the best MMA and grappling prospect coming out of Germany. And as for whether he's the son of Brock Lesnar, we could only find out if we personally asked Brock and Frederick's parents. Officially, no, but who knows? Maybe Mr. Lesnar visited Germany 28 years ago to spread some genes. But seriously speaking, one thing is clear. The light heavyweight division is a division of strikers. Alex Pereira, Jiri Prochazka, and even UFC champion Magomed Ankalaev. All of these top fighters are more strikers than grapplers. That's why, if Frederick gains more experience and feels more comfortable on his feet, he will have no problem becoming a champion in this weight class. And what do you think? What future awaits the Neanderthal?